Good evening, dear viewers. Continue reporting on the war in Ukraine, and today I will tell you about the events that have happened on the front lines yesterday, and the same way as the day before. Main events are happening in Klishchiivka and Karmazinivka again. But starting with the significant attacks, now interestingly the attack was on the Moscow. And we saw the drone attack on Likacheva Street, and the one of the civilian buildings was hit. There was at least 2 drones were noticed, and those now not the big drones which were sent from the territory of Ukraine. Most likely it was some of the Ukrainian unit that is located on the territory of Russia. Also, we see the attack on the Crimea, the drones and Storm Shadow missiles. There's no information about the damage that's been done, and also no information about from the Russian side that they actually shot down all the drones and the missiles. This time, no visible damage, but just to remind you that the Storm Shadow missiles were extremely successful in the previous day when they actually destroyed 3 ammo depots on the territory of the occupied Crimea. The Russian continues hammering the Odessa port in Odessa and Chernomorsk, and also we're attacking the Reni. And just want to mention you a couple points on the attack on the Reni. This is a small port on the Danube river, and the port itself is located here, which is not well, that is not important. What is important is that it is just a couple 100 meters from the territory of the NATO country Romania. And what is important now, if you remember the middle of the war, when there was discussion on the fragments of the Russian missiles falling on the Polish territory, and some of the attacks close to the Polish territory, then it was actually raising a lot of the discussions, and everybody showed their negative attitude toward such activities of the Russians. Now there's 2 things. A, Russians are not afraid to strike target very close to the NATO border of the NATO country. And well, unfortunately, we don't see too many voices that have been raising and discussing this issue, because we know that Russian weapons have not been become more precise than they were in the beginning of the war, and in that case, the Russians are not afraid to attack targets so close to the NATO country. Means that they kind of show their attitude and show their different approach to the attacks, so they are not afraid now attack the targets very close to the NATO country, which is not a very good signal. And as a result of that attack, what we see, if the previously the ships were kind of staying on an anchors here in that area, now we see that the whole rivers on the way to the Reni is blocked with the ships, and unfortunately there's now facilities in Reni are damaged, and I'm sure that the Russians will continue attack that port. So basically how the that problem will be solved, I don't know, because well, that facility is attacked, and the ports in Odessa are blocked by the Russian Sea. So basically there's no solution for now. On the Kherson direction, there's a report about the activities of Ukrainian forces on Antonivsky Island, and what we see here is that Ukrainians claim that their bridgehead was very expanded significantly, so they are claiming they're controlling all that territory. And there's also a report that they crossed the Konka River and now controlling that territory too. Well, let's wait and see until we have more proof of such activities, and one of such proofs could be the Russian artillery attack on those positions. If we will see the Russians attacking those positions, then most likely the Ukrainians are really there. On the Zaporozhye direction, then we see the fights between Zherebyanki and Piatikhatki, the normal attack. The most fierce fights were in the direction of Rabotine. I will tell you about that in a minute. In Gulyai-Pole-Dorozhnyanka direction, another Ukrainian attack, so far without any success. The Velika Novoselka direction is surprisingly calm today, so there is no reports about significant fighting in that direction. Ukrainians are attacking with a smaller units. We will see how it will change in a days. And in direction of Vuhledar, Ukrainians attack towards Mikilsky and Volodymyrovka, and the Russians responded with an artillery strike on the Vuhledar itself. What happened on the Rabotine direction? Here we saw the major Ukrainian attack with rather large force east of the Rabotine, and also attack on Rabotine itself, and two supporting attacks in direction of Verbove and Nesteryanka. The Russians responded with the helicopter strikes and the drone strikes, and as a result of those attacks, Russians were forced to leave those positions in that area and withdraw to Rabotine itself. The other, I think, is important activity which have happened here is that Ukrainians actually mine this territory in front of the Rabotine, which indirectly means that Ukrainians are no longer going to be attacking in the direction from the north, and most likely they want to keep those positions and do not allow Russians actually counterattack and retake the positions. So basically we know that the Ukrainians move from here to here, so it's still a considerable distance, and maybe they're thinking about actually keeping the small amount of the terrain they actually took over from Russians, rather than actually risking Russian counterattack and possibility of losing everything. One interesting moment I want to mention here is that actually what we saw now, we saw the FPV and Lancet drone attacks on the Ukrainian columns rather than artillery attacks. And in the last 2 days, it was very noticeable that actually artillery is used much far less than in the previous day, and Russians switch mainly to the drone attacks. Is it the big shift in the tactics of the Russian forces? I don't know, but we need to look into that issue in the different directions and in different places. And if the same pattern we will see in the different places, then it is a shift on the Russian tactics. The Russians the Russians left that position and returned to the, well, actually they climbed to the hill. And the height of the hill here is 145 meters, compared to the positions with the Ukrainians are holding around 120 and around 80, 90 meters. So the Russians have the considerably more advantageous position, and most likely what they will keep their position on that hill, and allow Ukrainians, well, if they want to expand their movement to the south using that valley. But what we need to remember, those two hills are also held by the Russian forces. So basically, if the Ukrainians are planning to move via this valley, that's going to be very dangerous for them, and I don't think they will much succeed in that move. So, but since, as I mentioned, Ukrainians are mining this position, it looks like they're preparing more to move to the defensive position, at least in that direction, and do not continue attacks towards the Rabotine from the north. Well, how it will, we will see in the following days. Am I correct with that prediction? Then one more unfortunate, the unfortunate fact That's actually, in this picture is coming from the Oryx. This is a site which is counting the losses of both Russian and Ukrainian forces, and they are only putting those losses that they can identify and geolocate. And unfortunately, this is a place in the Robotyne directions where Ukrainian lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait a minute. 10, 11 vehicles, and that is only on one small area. So, well, we need to admit that unfortunately the Ukrainians do have serious losses of the equipment and the personnel in that direction, and so probably it is time for them to reconsider the way how they're conducting attacks towards Robotyne. Direction of Velika Novoselka, the only noticeable report we saw was the drone usage of drones from Livadne attacking the Russian positions of Priutne, but nothing significant, no significant damage have been done so far. The directions to the Avdiivka, here we see the Russian attack from the Vesely to Kamyanka without any success or any noticeable results. There are also reports that Ukrainians are gathering their forces in that area, and well, obviously they are preparing for this significant counterattack, and most likely that counterattack will go in direction of the Krasnohorivka. And if the Ukrainians will be able to attack and seize that town, so basically the front line most likely will return to that line, and that is where the front line been couple months ago. So basically, if they are successful with the retaking Krasnogorivka, that's going to be a significant success for the Ukrainian forces on that part of the front. Now to the Bakhmut area and Klishchiivka, most significant Ukrainian successes in that area. Ukrainian attacked towards Andriivka, and they were able to take this piece of ground, a very successful, very important, and now the Andriivka itself is under the direct threat of the Ukrainians, and I think we will see the Ukrainian attacks towards Andriivka in the day to come. The main attacks towards Klishchiivka came from south, and there is some part of the territory which is taken. And also we see the Ukrainian attacks from the north towards the northern part of Klishchiivka. If you look into Klishchiivka itself, how the situation have changed, first of all, now we can tell that the Ukrainians fully control that part of the territory, and also we see their movement towards Andriivka. Attack from the south, so some territory, some part of Klishchiivka is taken. And I think in the days to come we see the steady Ukrainian progress to the north, and also it will be combined with attack from the northern position, which is currently under full Ukrainian control. Obviously, Russians are counterattacking wherever it's possible in all directions here, but so far their counterattacks were not effective, and most likely, well, it will take just a couple more days. But Klishchiivka is lost for the Russian forces unless they will send significant reinforcements to that area, and we don't see any significant reinforcements coming to that area soon. In the direction of Seversk and Solidar, we see the Russians are attacking the northern Belogorivka, and Ukrainians are actually moving to the southern Belogorivka. Also, we see attacks Ukrainians towards Berkhivka and towards Dubovo-Vasilyevka, and there's a report from Ukrainian side that the Russians are attacking on the direction of Bogdanivka. None of the attacks get any of the results. And we again see a lot of the videos from the Berestovo-Belogorivka area with drone attacks, and this is the unit from the 10th Mountains Brigade of Ukrainian Army. Which is well, is very successful with they are successful with the drone attacks, that's true, but they are also very active with placing their videos of the attacks of the drones on the Russian forces. So, well, in any way, it's successful in both, in doing the damage to the Russian forces and also to showing the attacks to the other the whole world, and actually raising the morale of the Ukrainian forces when they see actually successful attacks somewhere. Moving further north, the Liman direction, here we see the Russians are still not attacking and having a defense posture in the area of Zarechny and Torske, and the only attack is happening in Serebryanka forest here. What the Ukrainians are doing, obviously, we see again the counterattacks, trying to retake the positions of the Russian forces here, and Ukrainians reacted. So basically they are again started the activities in the direction of Balka-Zhuravka, and so basically trying to retake positions they lost in the previous weeks and months. And now to the main fighting area, Kupiansk, and most importantly Karmazinivka. What we see here the Russians attacking towards Sinkivka, trying to regain positions they lost in the previous unsuccessful attack here. In the direction of Serhievka-Nadia, there is Russian movements towards Sergeyevka, and there's reports that Ukrainians have left the Serhievka, and now this position is actually that's not controlled by the Russians, but it is certainly in the gray zone right now. And also the other one attack is going towards Nadia, but Nadia currently is still in the Ukrainian hands. But situation here is obviously, as you see, is complicated. In the direction of the Karmazinivka, now we see less reports from the Russian side. There's two reasons for that. Maybe one is that attack is not going as successfully as the Russians thought. The other one, they trying to move some direction which was not foreseen, and that is why there's no reporting or less reporting on the activities in that direction. There's Ukrainian forces, I think it was Deep State, that reported that the Russians are attacking in the direction of Chernichina, but this is far too away, and I don't think that is actually exactly true. The truth, I think that is more, one of those reports when the attack is in direction of, so basically it is not even close to the Chernichina itself. And if you look in the map, there's no difference, no updates here. The only thing which is reported that the Russians are trying to expand the bridgehead. There's three main directions of attack, and there's no exact information of how far Russians get further, and where the Ukraine, and also there's no or very little information of Ukrainian defense positions in this area. And if you look into the whole map on how the attack is going on, so now we can say that the Russians have the bridgeheads here and here. Well, actually, as I explained you, their primary objective is most likely Barova, and what I need to say, their pace of attack need to be much faster. Otherwise, eventually in a couple of days, in a week, the Ukrainian forces reserves will be brought to that area, and then Russian attack will be much less successful. Or have much lesser probability for success than if they will move forward quickly. And the last news are coming from the Belarusia, and just a reminder to those who did not remember the thing, the Wagner units, they are now in the different areas of the Belarusia, but they are now on the reorganization and resupply phase. And after the Bakhmut day, when the Wagners were taking out of the position, out of the fighting to the rear areas, the date for their reactivation was set as the 5th of August. Of course, nobody believes that the 5th of August is real date when they will start active activities. But this is a date which we could put up in the calendar, because this is a time when actually the Russian forces think that the Wagner will be back to the combat trends and will be able to conduct further attacks. So basically, if we want to know what is happening with the Wagners, we need to check this date in our calendar and look what they're doing around 5th of August, because around that day, either earlier or later, we will see some reactivation of the Wagner activities. That's all for today's report. Again, two main news are Klishchiivka and Karmazinivka. In one, the Ukrainian forces are attacking, in the other Russian attacking. And tomorrow I will tell you all about the further developments of the war in Ukraine, and will tell you will the Ukrainians succeed with their attack in Klishchiivka, and how successful they will be in the defense of the Karmazinivka. But it's all for today, and see you tomorrow.